Hello, and thank you for joining us for Wisconsin Parkinson Association's educational video series. I'm Jeremy Otte, Director of Outreach and Education with Wisconsin Parkinson Association. WPA provides hope, community, support, and resources for people with Parkinson's and their loved ones. Today, we are talking with Ruth Busalacchi, President of Cynergy HomeCare, Greater Milwaukee. Ruth and I are going to discuss how to afford home care or home health care for you and a loved one. Welcome, Ruth. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. You want to give us a little background about yourself and a little bit on Cynergy Home Care?
Sure. So Cynergy Home Care of Greater Milwaukee has been in operation for 10 years now. We're happy to celebrate our 10th anniversary. The inspiration actually to open Cynergy was due to my own personal experiences. My father was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and because I have a background in social services, I was that one member of the family who helped my parents, my father and my mother, as well as my siblings, navigate what we knew was going to be lots of complications because of a chronic condition. My goal for my father was to help him find resources well in advance so that he himself could make decisions as his condition changed. And then, of course, I wanted to support my mother, who I knew was going to have more on her plate as my father's condition changed. So through the course of probably almost 10 years, we helped my parents. And with that, it inspired me to say, why don't I help other families on their journey? Because we're all unique. We're all unique, and we all want different things in life. And there's so much that is out there to support a family member and the loved ones with a chronic condition. So that's why I opened Cynergy, and we've been able to help families make their own decisions and support them in a lot of different ways so that they can continue on their own journey with as much respect, with saving as much money as possible, because I certainly believe in that, and it's been wonderful.
You said that you provide a number of services and people are very unique. Do you want to touch a little bit on what maybe some of those services are that you do provide for people that are looking for home health?
Sure, happy to. So initially, people will look to our services if they are maybe stop driving. Our caregivers, our Cynergy caregivers, can actually drive them to appointments. Or let's say they're not in the mood to leave the house, they're not feeling well, our caregivers can actually drive their own cars and run errands, grocery shopping, that type of thing. We also noticed that people could use a little bit of an extra hand getting to doctor's appointments, even if they're going with a family member, help getting in and out of the car. Someone's parking the car, someone's getting comfortable at the doctor's appointment, that type of thing. So those types of things. We also help with any housekeeping, laundry, changing the bed sheets, and meal preparation, reminding people to set up their medication and take their medication, all the way up to providing help getting up, getting dressed, bathing, and even end of life. If someone is choosing to stay at home, even with family, they need usually another couple layers of support. So we can provide that layer of support and build around that.
Thanks. And that's a great explanation of the variety of services you offer, Ruth. I think probably one of the first questions I would ask, what's the hardest first step?
Oh, the hardest first step is recognizing that you or your loved one could use another layer of support. I think that we come from a country that says we're independent and we want to do everything for ourselves. Or if you're caring for a loved one, it's hard to let that go and to say, I could use more help. Ultimately, everything comes down to cost as well. None of us really want to empty out our pocket if we don't have to for support. So just taking that first step and say, let me learn a little bit more about what this might look like for me. What do I need? What would I be happy to give up? Doing laundry is one of the first things that people are happy to give up. If you want to be the primary caregiver for your loved one or partner and let us do the laundry, that gives you more time. I experienced that because I would go to my parents' home and I would find myself cleaning out the toilet because I knew that my mother didn't have time for that. And then it hit me, why don't we hire a service to help them with the laundry, to help them with those types of things so that I can be a daughter and support my family. And that really was the big first step. So reaching out and asking about supportive home care services is probably the biggest first step.
And I can imagine, I mean, first of all, making the call, but like you said, I think recognizing within your loved one that there's help needed there. I think of my own family, my grandparents, my own parents, they're really good at hiding certain things. And you don't notice it until all of a sudden you start picking up on it at visit after visit. And I'm sure you probably see the same thing within when people call you.
Yes, we like to ask someone if they're having some mobility issues. We like to ask them, in the last 6 months, let's say, or even 3 months, have you had any near falls? No one ever likes to admit that they had a fall. They might be a little more willing to admit that they had a near fall. What happens when you don't receive appropriate supports when it's appropriate, when you have a change of condition, is then you start running on a cross your finger plan. You're really hedging your bet that you won't have anything serious happen to you. And I'm sure, Jeremy, what you have recognized as well with the WPA is sometimes those injuries and those accidents really spiral the condition. And now they need so much more help than they would have had they accepted a little bit of help early on. And that's really what we're trying to encourage is get the information in front of you. How does it impact your family? What would you be interested in? And then make that first call and give it a try.
Well, and I think I've seen just personally and professionally, once you get that person in there, maybe you start with just 1 or 2 services, oftentimes they realize, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And there's maybe a number of other services they may want to do. So it's just getting you in there, and then obviously the plan will change greatly as people get more comfortable with what you can do.
I couldn't agree more. There's nothing better than starting small, where it doesn't have a huge impact on your personal life, and you can get used to the idea of having a personal assistant in your house. And then if, God forbid, something happened to either the individual with Parkinson or their partner, you've got a backup plan and you're ready to take action if things were to change rapidly.
Well, I'm going to segue a little bit. You've mentioned a couple times cost. And I know cost can vary greatly within home health cares. So can you talk a little bit about cost, and then maybe what resources are out there for people to afford the services that they need?
I tell you, this is my favorite topic because I come from a hardworking family and I like to stretch a dollar. So when I started Cynergy, I was determined to find as many funding options and resources and ways to help individuals find a way to fit services into their budget without overextending that. And so cost, when we think about a person who might move to a community, an assisted living or a group home or a nursing home, those costs, I think the first thing that people are surprised to hear is that those costs are privately paid. So when you think of an assisted living community, which could be very appropriate for some individuals, you're talking about, in the state of Wisconsin, somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000 out of pocket a month. So we always like to present what everything looks like, what all of your options are. If an individual needed as much care as an assisted living level, which is about 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, and someone to be there in an emergency, if we could create a plan like that in your own home, a daily visit, you're still talking about maybe $3,000, $2,000 to $3,000 less. That's if you had somebody in every day. But if you were looking at a couple of visits a week, maybe somebody to do some laundry, maybe somebody to be in your house while you bathe, make you a couple of meals, you're talking probably in our area, and I can kind of speak for Cynergy, somewhere around $25 to $30 an hour. So that's really where you look at. It's mostly about looking at a budget. Where at this stage are you comfortable spending if it is out of pocket?
I think you made a good point there, Ruth. I want to touch on 2 things. Home health care is not covered by insurance, correct?
Home, actually, home health care, anything that ends in the word health means that it is, because Medicare is health insurance. So that would be if you had a change of condition, like having a nurse come into your house or a therapist of some sort. Your Medicare plan will cover that on a temporary basis. But home care, and those just semantics, but they mean everything. Home care traditionally is not. There is a new, as of 2019, there is a new covered benefit under Medicare Advantage plans that does in fact pay for non-medical home care. At Cynergy, we enrolled in this plan in the state of Wisconsin. The only plan right now that has it is Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare Advantage. So it has to be that specific program. But what's wonderful about it is your Medicare plan will pay for 31 days in a calendar year of our care, 4 hours a day. It's amazing. So that's a very unique and specific coverage under Medicare.
And that's great to know, because I don't think everybody's aware of that's out there. So I think that's a wonderful information for people to be aware of.
Yes.
The second thing I was kind of thinking of as you're talking about, going into assisted living versus staying at home. I personally think of my grandmother, who the last thing she wanted to do was leave her home. So we got as much home health as we could for her to keep her in her home. And she thrived by having people come in. Can you speak a little bit that when Cynergy sends in a caregiver, that's going to change maybe liability a little bit? Because I hear people, you said $25 to $30. I've had people go, oh yeah, I just paid somebody who's going to college to do it. They're coming in and doing this. I don't think they realize there's maybe an inherent liability versus having a company like yours send caregivers in. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I always recommend hiring a professional agency. When you hire someone that's a professional agency, they are insured. You always want to ask about their insurance, but you should assume, at least up front, that they have insurance. So for Cynergy, when our employee walks on your property, they're automatically under my insurance. If something were to happen to them, I'm covering that. I'm also paying their payroll taxes. I have following their liability, general business liability as well. So if something were to break or be damaged in your home, once again, that's under my insurance. As a professional agency, we also do background checks. And so we want to make sure that the people that we're sending are appropriate and safe for your family, including reference checks. What I also recognize the difference between hiring somebody privately and then hiring an agency is when things don't go well with that private person, who's going to correct their performance? Who's going to potentially terminate that individual? That's an awkward place for family or the individual to be in. And when you hire an agency, that's something that we can handle and address for you.
And I think those are great points, Ruth, as we talk a little bit about how do you afford home care. You might save $3 or $4 by hiring somebody privately, but then if something happens, now it's your insurance, or as you said, you're the one who has to deal with any issues that are happening. So you're saving money short term, but long term, you're probably saving more money working with a company such as yourself, who can work on some of those issues and make sure, as you said, background checks are done and all the really important things that need to be done to make sure my loved one is being taken care of as safely as possible.
I couldn't agree more. You, as the advocate of your grandmother, let's say, you want to be focusing on that. You want to spend your time with your grandmother and focus on the important things and not get distracted with schedules or somebody not showing up, and now you have to stop and do what you're doing to address that. That should be the responsibility of the professional agency.
So you mentioned a little bit, again, talking about the cost. You talked a little bit about the Medicare Advantage program or plan that's out there people should know about. What other services do you know of that maybe help offset the cost for home health or for home care?
Sure. So long-term care insurance if individuals aren't familiar with that, they should reach out to their agent that usually helps them with, let's say, life insurance and those types of things. Long-term care insurance is a great policy that pays for home care. There are a lot of grants in the state of Wisconsin. Every county is required to have what they call a respite grant, or a grant to help a family caregiver get a break. And those grants in the state of Wisconsin, and I know in greater Milwaukee, are somewhere around $2,000 a year. So it's a nice hefty grant. There are also programs through the Veterans Administration, not just for the veteran, but for the surviving spouse, to help pay for our services and also to help pay for respite. And there's also Title 19. We refer to it in the state of Wisconsin as family care. If an individual has a chronic health condition and they cannot afford to pay for care, those are options as well to receive services.
When you say respite care, can you, I think it's a term we hear a lot, but not everybody fully knows what respite care is or what it means. So can you maybe touch on that? And then can you tell me, if I'm looking for the respite care grant in my county, is that through the Aging and Disability Resource Center, or is there somewhere else I should be looking for that grant?
That's the first place to start. The Aging and Disability Resource Center, every county has one, easy enough to find in your county, and that's where you start and you ask for the respite grant. And you're right, respite is becoming more familiar, but still a little misunderstood. It used to be that respite was a place, right? If your family member needed respite, they went to a place. And that's still the truth, but now respite can mean a long break, like maybe the partner needs to go away for a week or a weekend, and someone can come to your home. Or it could be small snippets of time. Let's say the care partner has a bridge club that they would have missing out on every Wednesday. They can have respite every Wednesday during that time. So it really, respite is open-ended in that sense. It can be brought to the home or outside of the home, and for short or long periods of time.
So I'll put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
You own a home care company. You go in and provide services. Let's say it's for me and my loved one. How important do you as professionally see the respite for the care partner? How important do you see that for them to take that time and take care of themselves when you're making sure that the individual you're there for is being taken care of?
It's priceless. There's a reason, if you think about it, that our government has funded respite grants. It's because they have done the numbers, they've punched the numbers and realized that if a care partner does not get a break, then studies will show that they themselves will start having their own emotional and physical problems. And now they're using their own Medicare benefits. So our government has done the numbers, recognize that we have to recognize the need for support when you are providing support to your care partner. And I've always used the expression, if you think about the care that you give your partner or your loved one as pouring out a vessel of water, and if you don't refill that vessel with water, eventually it's going to go dry. And you have to remember to refill your own vessel. And the benefits are out there. The help is out there, including coverage to pay for it.
I think you said it really well, Ruth. When I look at the people we work with through the Wisconsin Parkinson Association, we spend so much time focusing on the person with Parkinson's disease. But like you said, the mental health and the physical health of that care partner is equally as important. And if we don't take care of both, we're not helping either. And I think you said it very well, that vessel, and I've seen that vessel activity you've done, really demonstrates the importance of taking care of oneself to be able to take care of your partner fully.
That's right.
So, as we think about all this, I think you've covered a lot of the financial assistance or resources that are out there, and I appreciate that. I think one of the other questions I should be asking you is, okay, we've talked about the cost, we've talked about some of the services. What questions should I be asking when I meet with a provider such as yourself to make sure that, like you said, insurance is covered and all that other stuff. What are the things I should really be considering when I meet with that individual?
Great questions. I would encourage anyone who has an interest in gathering information that they reach out to as many family members who want to attend as possible. And now, as we know, we can do those assessments and information gathering virtually or in person. And you want to ask about insurance, absolutely. Then you want to ask about how they hire. Are they hiring their own employees or are they subcontracted? Are they running background checks? How often do they check in on the employees, the caregivers? What kind of training are the caregivers given, and what kind of ongoing training are they given? The other thing that I think is really important is how accessible is the agency that you're hiring. Can you call them 24 hours a day, or do they only have office hours? Because I think what we've identified at Cynergy Home Care is we have to be accessible 24 hours a day. We have clients who we serve 24 hours a day, and we know that crisis happens after hours and on the weekends and even on a holiday.
It's like anything. It doesn't break down between 9 and 5. It breaks down at 5:10. And having
That's right.
a server, I think, is really important. You said something at the beginning that I want to kind of touch on. You said, ask the rest of the family who wants to be there. Why is that important?
Advocacy is critical. Whenever we, as humans, have a situation that we're concerned about for ourselves, we have a tendency to have sort of tunnel vision, and we might hear something that gets us thinking about another topic or gets us off topic. And so family members can take notes, and you can recollect what happened in the course of that conversation. Something that you, as the individual who needs the care, may not recognize as an issue, maybe a loved one does recognize that. And they want to have peace of mind. Allowing someone into your home, it's a very intimate transaction. And family needs to know that this was a decision that was right for everybody.
And I know the answer, but I'll put it out there. Really make sure the person we're calling about is aware of what's going on and is on board. Otherwise, it makes your job really hard, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good point.
When you meet with the family, I got, brothers and sisters are there and mom and dad are there and we're having the discussion. What are the questions you're going to be asking the family to best assess what kind of services maybe you can provide, or maybe you say this doesn't fit with what we want or what we do, you maybe need more medical care, and here's somebody else we can do. What are the type of things you'd be looking for or asking?
The way that we approach a meeting like that is at Cynergy Home Care is more like an interdisciplinary team. We look at the individual as the center, and all of the different kinds of support are spokes on a wheel, and we're one of those spokes. So when we meet, we're going to ask very basic questions about activities of daily living. How do you go about your day? And that's going to help us understand where are some of those areas that you're struggling a little bit with, where you might get just a little bit of support, a little bit of standby support, and that could help improve those activities of daily living and reduce an injury. So that if physical evaluation is going to be first, gathering that data, then we're going to ask the individual, what types of things are you interested in? Where do you see the help? But we're also going to ask the family members and the advocates, where do you see there could be some areas that we could help? And sometimes those are two different things, and that can be a little awkward, I think, if the family is a little more concerned than the individual. So we often refer to that as an information gathering conversation. And I encourage families to not feel the need to make a decision the day that we meet, but to talk about it as a family in private and make sure that you have all your questions answered, or maybe it begins another question, another trail of questions. And so once, then we'll discuss where is our comfort level for other services to be brought in? Could some home health be brought in? Are you a veteran? Do you have long-term care insurance? Ultimately, we're going to get down to that cost. and give them an idea of what a schedule might look like and what a cost might look like. If the family is ready to start services, then we'll narrow in more on a particular schedule. What we do at Cynergy is we bring that information back to my team, and they start matching up the right caregiver or the right personal assistant with your needs and your personality as well, you know, so it's a good fit.
Well, I appreciate it, Ruth. I think you've covered a lot of really important stuff. I think you've given us some ideas how to make this affordable. I will give you the question I ask everybody at the end. Anything we've missed that you're like, Jeremy, I can't believe you didn't ask me this question?
I think you touched on my one concern at the very top of the conversation, and that was, what is the hardest first step? And the hardest first step is picking up the phone and making a phone call. I encourage people to call well before they think they need the help. Have somebody come out. Cynergy, we're happy to come out to your home and or talk to you over the phone, give you some ideas so you can present what I want for myself and put it in your back pocket. Then at least you know you have a plan. It's sort of plan B. Or if you're ready to take that step, take that first step. But the hardest step is picking up that phone.
Well, I appreciate it. I lied. That wasn't my last question. I have two more for you. The first one is probably the easiest one. How do I get a hold of you if I want to call Cynergy and have somebody come in to visit?
Sure. So you can certainly look us up at cynergyhomecare.com, and you can find us that way. We have a number that, as I said, is accessible 24/7, and that's 414-763-8368.
We will make sure we put that with the video so people can find it. Then my second question is, you gave me the Cynergy Home Care website. If I'm in La Crosse, Wisconsin watching this today, is there Cynergy Home Care throughout the state, or is it only in Greater Milwaukee?
In my office, we serve the Greater Milwaukee area, which also includes Waukesha County and Ozaukee County and Washington. If we cannot serve you, we can either help direct you to another office, or we would direct you right back to the Wisconsin Parkinson's Association, where you have a wealth of resources.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Ruth. That answers the questions I have, so I have no more surprises for you. But we'd really, Ruth, like to thank you for your time today, providing information and resources on how we can all afford home care services now and in the future. We are glad you as a viewer are checking in with WPA frequently. We are regularly updating our website and Facebook page with exercise classes, educational videos such as this one, and a number of other resources for you to take control in your Parkinson's journey. Again, you can email us at mail@wiparkinson.org with future topics you'd like to see covered by our local experts. Now, hopefully you're finding these educational video series beneficial. WPA relies on donations from individuals just like you. So please consider a gift today at wiparkinson.org to continue to keep all WPA programs and services free now and in the future. Once again, I'd like to thank Ruth for being our guest today. Thanks you for joining us. And then all, please take care and have a wonderful day.